Okay, so imagine this. You've got a major beef with your property owners association. You've done all your homework, you've got all your evidence lined up, and you finally file a case in court. You are ready to go. That's exactly the spot one Arizona homeowner, a Mr. Thomas Satterlee, found himself in.
But here's where it gets weird. Before he could even get into the meat of his argument, the judge just stops everything. Case thrown out. Done. It was over before it even really began. So what in the world happened? What kind of legal loophole is powerful enough to shut a case down that fast?
All right, let's dig in. The whole answer, every clue we need, is buried right here in this official court order from the Arizona Office of Administrative Hearings. We're going to unpack this thing piece by piece and figure out exactly what it means for anyone who might be in a similar boat.
So yeah, the case was stopped cold. But the reason, well, it had absolutely nothing to do with who was right or wrong in the actual neighborhood dispute. Nope, it all came down to a really basic fundamental rule of law.
And that rule is called subject matter jurisdiction. Now, think of it like this. You can't use your house key to start your car, right? They're both keys, but they're built for totally different locks. Well, in the legal world, a court needs the exact right key, that's the jurisdiction, to even open the door to a certain type of case. If it doesn't have it, its hands are completely tied. It literally can't do a thing.
So all of a sudden, the fight wasn't about the original problem at all. It turned into this high-stakes argument about the court's own power. The homeowner was saying, yep, this is the right place, while the association was firing back, no way, you have zero authority here.
Now let's jump over to the homeowner side of things. I mean, from his point of view, he had a couple of really solid logical reasons for thinking he was in the right place.
And his points were pretty compelling. First off, and this is a big one, this wasn't his first rodeo. He had actually sued the very same association in this very same court before, and the case was heard. You'd think that sets a precedent, right? And second, he pointed out that the association's own paperwork, its own documents, looked and acted just like they were following the state laws for planned communities, which, you guessed it, are handled by this specific court.
But this is where the entire story just pivots on a dime. Because despite how logical the homeowner's argument seemed, the judge's decision came down to something way more rigid, the law's super precise black and white definition of one key term.
That's it. This whole thing, the arguments, the dismissals, the whole shebang, it all boiled down to how you interpret just a few words tucked away in the state statutes.
And here it is. This is the phrase. Under Arizona law, for an association to legally be a planned community, it has to involve real estate that is owned and operated by the association itself. That's not a guideline, it's not a suggestion, it's an absolute must.
And if you look at the judge's ruling, you can see just how critical this definition was. I mean, it's right here in the document. The judge quotes that statute word for word. This one little paragraph became the bedrock for the entire dismissal.
And here comes the knockout punch. In court, everybody agreed on one huge fact. The Property Owners Association did not own or operate any real estate at all. And with that single admission, well, the whole argument fell apart. They just couldn't meet the legal definition.
Okay, so what about that earlier case? That's the big question, right? If the court heard it once, why not do it again? This is where we get into the real nuts and bolts of how jurisdiction works and why it's such an unbreakable rule. Here it is, the aha moment, pulled straight from the judge's decision. Jurisdiction can't be waived. It can't be created by accident. Just because a court messed up and heard a case once without the proper authority doesn't magically give it that authority for the future. You can't accidentally grant a court power that the law says it just doesn't have.
The judge's logic here was basically an airtight trap. It was a simple, three-step process. 1, jurisdiction comes from the law, period. Not from what the parties did in the past. 2, that prior case, totally irrelevant. Why? Because nobody ever questioned the court's jurisdiction back then, so it was never officially decided. It was just an oversight. And 3, the conclusion is simple. The law is crystal clear, and this association just doesn't fit the definition. Case closed.
So, with that logic laid out so clearly, the outcome was pretty much a foregone conclusion. The court really had no other choice but to make a final ruling about its own authority.
And here you can see it, the final order signed and dated. This is the document that officially shut the door on this part of the dispute, making it official that this court had no power to move forward.
So, while the case was dismissed, it's really important to know that Mr. Satterlee didn't lose on the actual issues.
The judge even pointed out that he was totally free to file his lawsuit all over again, just in a different court, one that had the right key to hear it. He was basically told he just knocked on the wrong door.
And that leaves us with a really powerful question, doesn't it? This whole fight wasn't about who is right or wrong about a fence or a fee. It was about something way more fundamental, just being in the right room. It's a huge reminder that in the legal world, the how and where can be just as important as the what. So it makes you think, if you ever have a dispute, the very first question you have to ask is, are you absolutely 100% sure you're knocking on the right door?